record-setting crowds have helped the Cougs claw their way into the national rankings, while the Cardinal remain among the nation's very best. It's a top 25 matchup as Stanford heads to the Palouse. Get ready for the Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game of the Week. Electric environment tonight on the Palouse for our Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game of the Week. Stanford makes its final road trip of the season to face the Cougs, and they'll also catch Washington on this trip, so two opponents in the top half of the league table. Can Stanford stay unblemished? Good evening, everyone. With Ali Wagner, I am JB Long, and this Pac-12 championship race doesn't really start until someone defeats Stanford. Washington State feels like they can beat that side.
Well, they've had an impressive season thus far, and tonight, if they could knock off Stanford, it would add more to it. But the reason they're having such a great season is because of Todd Schulenberger, the new coach for this program. He's come in, he's upped the ante. He said, listen, we want to be better in the classroom, and we want to be better on the field. He asked them, do you want to be contenders or do you want to be pretenders? And they're clearly embracing the moment to be contenders.
Well, he thinks Caitlin Johnson might be the key to this match. How come?
Well, she's the leading point getter for this group. She's got 6 goals, 4 assists. 2 weekends ago, she had 2 goals, and she had a little bit of a chip on her shoulder that she wasn't named the Pac-12 Player of the Week. And last week, she actually missed a few sitters against Arizona. So I expect her to come in fully motivated tonight to make a statement that she is one of the top players.
Against one of the league's best, Andy Sullivan, a front runner for Player of the Year.
And why not? Take a look at this shot. I mean, this is a special shot. She just lasers that into the upper corner. And she's actually the defensive center mid for Stanford. That's one of her roles. She has to set play out of the back, but she also is responsible for getting in with late runs into the attack, and that's why she's one of the leading point getters for this Stanford unit. She has 5 goals, 2 assists. She is a sophomore, she's a leader, and she's a captain, and she's only going to get better.
2 of the best individuals in the league, 2 of the best sides in the Pac-12. We call it our Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game.
This Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game is brought to you by Pure Silk. Pure Silk Moisturizing Cream for legs that look and feel like pure silk.
I guess we know the answer to the question. Is Washington State nervous to face the top team in the Pac-12? Apparently not tonight on the Palouse. Here's the starting 11 for Paul Radcliffe's Cardinal. Much the same as we've become accustomed to seeing. Michelle Zhao is on a tear these last 3 matches. She's got a goal and 2 assists, playing with Carusa and McGrady up top for the Cardinal. As for the Cougs, they are 11-3 overall, 4-2 in Pac-12 play. Courtney Gutlein is one to watch with 6 goals. She is tied for second in the Pac-12. She'll be with Caitlin Johnson in the attack for the Cougs. All right, so Butch is ready. The youngsters on the Palouse are ready, and so are we for the Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game of the Week here in Pullman. We're already this season with 2 home matches left to play. The Cougars have drawn a school record for fans, better than 8,000. And another healthy crowd on hand tonight for Stanford. Should be a good one from the Palouse. Ali Wagner and JB Long. Here we go. This is Tegan McGrady, one of the freshman attackers for Stanford. Quickly into the attacking third. She's met by Kelsey Crenshaw, the outside back, and cleared away by Washington State.
I mean, these are those nights as a player that you dream of. It's chilly out, it's perfect soccer weather, and you've got a great crowd on hand.
Good throw into the feet of Kira Carusa, looking for the first corner of the match. Instead, back to the touchline. And take a look at the weather. You can see that with that throw in, Stephanie Amack going with the gloves tonight, at least to start the match. Carusa trying to make her turn, and Stanford unable to connect out wide. So a minute into the match, it's a top 25 showdown between the Cougs and the Cardinal. Now, what a difference this man has made, Todd Schulenberger. 7th head coach in Washington State history. He says if we get a result tonight, we are absolutely in the hunt for a Pac-12 championship.
And they're just going to keep building confidence. I mean, to knock Stanford off would be a huge statement. And look at this.
Out of this turnover, Caitlin Johnson We featured her right off the top, nearly connecting with Courtney Gutlein for an early goal.
I mean, it's early on. It's only a minute 30 into the game, but one of the game plans, one of the tactics that Schulenberger wants to use is to press this back line. He doesn't want these center backs to have time on the ball, and that's just Caitlin Johnson sniffing on it, lays a nice ball into Gutlein, and she's just unable to get there. But that's what Washington State wants to employ. Press those center backs, make it uncomfortable for them.
Here's an early victory for Washington State. The Cardinal have not allowed a corner in half of their matches this season. Not one.
I know, I thought that was remarkable.
It's Johnson to take it. Left-footed ball. And never got in play. So no damage done there.
And a lot of times when you have a stat like that where Stanford is not allowing the opponents to develop any momentum, get in their attacking third and earn corner kicks, it's because Stanford possesses the ball the majority of the game. So these other teams, they just don't get any opportunities to build up play and to get into their attacking third.
Well, Schulenberger's philosophy on that point is why give a great player like Stanford has more time and space on the ball? So they're going to try and take away some of that possession and some of that comfort level as Stanford builds from the back.
And I agree with his approach, especially in the collegiate game. Go ahead and press Stanford. But he also was open to the fact that, hey, look, this could be a really bad idea. You know, we might be punished for this.
It's risk-reward, isn't it?
It is. And he said, look, no one else has done this in the Pac-12. They've all sat back, and no one's beaten Stanford. So let's try something different.
They got Carusa again in the attacking third, working with Jordan DiBiase. This is Haley Rosen in her glow-bright spikes. Look at this position in front. An early shot for the Cardinal goes begging. Tegan McGrady, part of the freshman attack. Stanford is not just unbeaten at 6-0 in league. They're outscoring Pac-12 opponents 14-3.
And that's scary considering how young this group is. I mean, they're only going to get better. And Paul Ratcliffe is just so excited about the future that this team has.
Now Washington State gets a chance to build out of their back line. Kyliana Johnson gets a touch on it. Struggling to hold. See what their center backs can do. Susie White back there, a Pac-12 all-academic first-teamer in addition to her work here on the lower soccer field. The lead pass will be intercepted by the Cardinal back line. They're as good as any. Maddie Bowers back there, Laura Lytle, Alana Cook, Stephanie Amack, they're back four. A creative turn there by Rosen. 4 minutes in to Stanford and Washington State. Good look at Laura Lytle. She gets forward nicely from her right back spot. A sliding challenge there. Again, it's Rosen through the midfield for Stanford. She's a fifth-year senior. And a chance to introduce the Washington State keeper, Ella Diedrich. She's a redshirt freshman, and she has stepped in seamlessly for Gervine Clare, who was one of the greats in this program's history.
As a freshman, to be one of the goalkeepers, I mean, that's a testament to your talent. Maybe a little bit of depth, who knows, on the bench in the goalkeeper position, but she's been outstanding. I mean, she's athletic, and again, she's only a freshman. To be a leader in that back line says a lot about her capabilities.
Speaking of high pressure, Stanford has some of its own. Zhao gets a takeaway, but is shielded from the ball. Well done by Kyliana Johnson there. Sends Stanford to a throw-in. Diedrich has played every minute of the season, 12 goals allowed, 74 saves to lead the league. Might be tested again here. Stanford with some possession in the penalty area. Zhao took a drive with the left. That was denied. Rosen's been instrumental on the spine of the field so far early in this match. Some width now with Zhao. And Lytle in support behind her. Have not really seen Andy Sullivan on the ball there. She made a run just in front of Lytle, but the Cardinal have not connected with one of their stars to this point.
And it looks like one of the Cougars is actually spying her and just kind of staying with her on the pitch.
Here's a shot, left-footed ball from Rosen. An early test for Ella Diedrich.
Haley Rosen, she's got a good outside shot, so she's going to look for those all game long. but that one's easy for Diedrich to pick up.
This is the center back, Maddie Bauer. She's a captain as well, along with Sullivan and Jane Campbell.
And here's just a good look. The ball back to Haley. She beats her player, and there's no one in front of her, so she's going to have a rip. But that's just, again, easy for Diedrich to bring down.
My scatter report on Rosen is even though she's a two-footed player, she loves to frame it up with the left. Now Wegner on the counter. She, too, has a lefty go that sails wide.
Well, she's one, you're exactly right, on the opposite side. She's one who loves those outside shots and lets that one rip with her left foot.
On 4 goals along with 2 assists is Wegner.
And here's a look. It's just a pickoff. That's what they want. They're in good spots to earn transition possession, and that's Wenger. She doesn't have to make one pass. She's able to drive the field because there's no one that steps to her, and she's able to get her shot off.
Kelsey Crenshaw battling for the Cougs. She helps to earn a throw with Susie White. Wegner dispossessed, and there is Sullivan. 17 in White's. Second year in a row she's been instrumental for Paul Ratcliffe's side.
And there's just a silly giveaway by Stanford. I mean, one of the things that Paul Ratcliffe, one of his standards that he holds so high for this group is in possession, and he wants it to be better for this group. So they connect a few passes and they just give away silly balls at times, and that it can be a testament to the youthfulness of them.
Well, good news from Washington State's standpoint is even though this is a 2-match weekend, as here's a nice combination to spring Caitlin Johnson in the attack. It looked like Bauer was there to deflect it on its way through. And why don't we introduce Jane Campbell while we're at it. She is Diedrich's counterpart, and she is one of the best in college soccer.
And she's telling her backline, settle down, we got this. There's just been some giveaways that are allowing Washington State to counter very quickly.
Those 25 shutouts you saw there, 5 of them this season, and she's now 2 behind Emily Oliver for top 5 in Stanford history. Looked like Kira Carusa had designs on a go from distance as well. Out wide with Lytle. In our 9th minute, there's a nice ball inside. Jordan DiBiase returns. Now Rosen's turn to make a run, but could not settle it. And Nicole Marlowe playing to the outside, and the Cardinal will get a throw in. A good work right there by Caruso to win possession for Stanford. Now they've got Stephanie Amack in the attack. The left back sends it out wide. Tegan McGrady. Deflected, quick off her line. Ella Diedrich takes care of that.
I mean, nice job by Diedrich to read that. And I love that little ball by Amack out wide to Tegan McGrady. And that's something that Stanford is going to want to do all game long is get the ball wide, get around those edges. And that's Michelle Zhao coming across the face of Diedrich trying to get on that ball. That's a promising attack for Stanford, but very well read by Diedrich.
Allie, I've worked with you long enough to know now that one of the first questions you want to know about a keeper is how does she handle crosses? And at this level, sometimes that's a differentiating factor.
Oh my gosh, it's huge. Honestly, if you have a solid goalkeeper, someone who's confident in the air, on ball, sent into the box, you're going to be a contender.
DiBiase thought about it with the right. Keeps possession in the attacking third for Stanford. Now the support from Lytle. She'll throw one in front. This is her strength. No Cardinal on the end of it, though. Looks like they'll get a corner out of the opportunity. And so in the 11th minute, first corner kick for Stanford.
And that looked like a ball flight in the box. It was so lofted in there by Lytle that could have been the one that Diedrich would come out and just pick out of the sky for herself. And instead, they give away a corner kick here.
Corner kick margin for Stanford this season, 106-4, 20 against. Here's their first opportunity of the night. They had the first header, but not on goal. Now it falls to the floor, and Bo Bremer sweeps it away. Now right back in the mixer, but a lack of organization there by the Cardinal. This is a two-match week for both these sides, but by virtue of playing on Thursday night, they get an extra day's rest between their two matches. Paul Radcliffe will head across the state and take on Leslie Gallimore and the Huskies next, while Washington State awaits Cal.
And not an easy road trip for Stanford.
It is their last road trip of the season, so you have a feeling that we're going to know a lot more about the Pac-12 title race on Monday. A good challenge there by Washington State, and with Nicole Marlowe, they're able to win it. Kyliana Johnson does a nice job sitting right on top of that back line in her defensive holding posture.
She does. She does a great job for this group, and she's one of the best players on the team. Just simple, makes good decisions.
Great build here to get Rosen into the area with the left. It's 1-0 Stanford.
I mean, that's just a goal by great effort there by Haley Rosen. And we're going to get a good look at it here. You just see it's a turnover. Not a great touch there by Washington State. Stanford's all over it. Haley Rosen just powers her way through that back line. Crenshaw had a good look at it. She could have picked that off, but overstepped it. And Haley Rosen.
The Cardinal in the 13th minute grab a 1-0 lead, and Rosen is a great story. See the Cardinal record when they score first. As if they needed any help, they grab a road advantage in the early minutes on the Palouse.
But this Washington State team is gritty, and I don't expect them to go down easy.
Wagner with an outside-footed ball. Wanted to link up with Johnson. And the center backs for Stanford will cycle it through Jane Campbell. Here's some of that high pressure from Gutlein we spoke of. And nearly created something out of it.
And back to that goal, I mean, it's you want to try to play out of the back. Washington State wants to build out of the back, but they just turn the ball over. And then here, get a good look at Haley Rosen. I mean, she just beats 2 or 3 players and finishes that single-handedly. But Washington State wants to build out of the back. They want to possess the ball, but you have to be careful when you do that. I mean, you have to pick and choose your moments. And Stanford was in very good defensive posture. They were tight. They had numbers around the ball. Those might be instances where you just cleared up the field and hope to gain possession on the other half of the side.
Now this is an inspired build, and they nearly got the through ball that could have capped it. Who knows if they were onside, but the right concept for sure. And an easy win back. This is some of the momentum that they needed following that giveaway goal. Kara Wegner cuts it back, working against Sullivan. Lytle denied that diagonal. More great work to spring Wegner on one hop. It's gobbled up by Jane Campbell, her first save of the night.
I mean, there's pockets and seams in there for Washington State to play. And there's Haley Rosen's fluorescent green shoes. You've got to be good if you're going to wear the highlighters.
Saw the academic selection there. Rosen has already finished her degree in science, technology, and science. Some more trouble here for the Cougs getting it out of the back. DiBiase. No damage done there by Washington State. They get away with another giveaway. Now they play to the feet of Wegner. That's a good hold here against the pressure from Tegan McGrady.
Yeah, very well solved by Wegner on the ball there.
So 15 minutes gone, and the Cardinal have grabbed a 1-0 advantage. So much has been made about the freshman impact for Paul Radcliffe and Stanford, but it's the 5th-year senior Haley Rosen getting her team in front on arguably their toughest road trip of the season.
Well, it's a little bit like pick your poison, you know. Who do you defend more intensely? These young freshmen that are playmakers, or a Haley Rosen who can finish any ball, really? I mean, she single-handedly put that in the back of the net.
A left-footed cross goes awry. Saw Coach Radcliffe there. He is the Pac-12 women's soccer head coach of the century, as voted by our committee this season. His counterpart on the men's side is a mentor of his, Ziggy Schmidt. Radcliffe, a midfielder at UCLA, a 4-year letterman. Scored 30 points in 73 matches and won a 1990 national title. And as he goes across state to Seattle, he says anytime he's over in Seattle, he tries to go check out Ziggy's Sounders or check in with his mentor. Here's DiBiase cutting it back to hold it into the 17th minute. Stanford looking to stay perfect on their Pac-12 season. Good switch there by Rosen. Look at all the space for Amack. Stephanie Amack chewing up yardage. Now she sends it out wide on a run to the freshman. It's a good step defensively by the Cougs. The attack stalls out on a throw-in. A closer look at Haley Rosen. She's from Rolling Hills, California, now on 4 goals and 3 assists in her final campaign with the Cardinal. One of the last remaining remnants of a very special senior class that was honored on their way out last season. National championship winning squad. Chioma Bagagu, Lola Bonta, part of her class. She's hung around to finish her Stanford career. All right, so they've settled into this match, and if you're Washington State trailing a goal, what's your mentality now, Allie, chasing arguably one of the top teams in the country?
I don't think anything changes, really. I mean, their game plan coming in, it's strong. Press the center backs, don't allow Andy Sullivan time on the ball. We've rarely called her name tonight. And look for the counter, but also possess the ball when it's on. I think the one thing that, you know, the Coach Schulenberger would say to this group is, hey, let's not play out of pressure unnecessarily. There's time and place to kick it out of harm's way.
There's a foul against the Cardinal. I guess from their standpoint, they knew they had to catch a goal to get the result they wanted tonight anyways. Now they just need 2.
Right, and they've been scoring goals. And they've been seeing moments of joy on the field in that attacking third. So it's not as though they can't break Stanford down.
A long ball that's intercepted by Stanford. And now they've got McGrady at pace. Carusa to her right as she cuts it wide. Gets around Susie White. Here's the service. What a run by the freshman.
And McGrady is so fast, but she's very left-footed. So if you're Washington State, she's gone outside every time she's been on the ball. Try to force her inside. Force her to her right foot. Here we get a good look at it. I mean, she just flies. She's dribbling with the ball and pulling away from the defender. And again, she goes to the outside, stays with her left foot. You want to force her inside, force her to play with her right, and also force her into your pressure, or your cover, excuse me.
Courtney Gutlein sends it away. Looked like she was perhaps fouled behind the play. You heard the whistle there. That's Alana Cook, another freshman in the Cardinal lineup. She plays center back. She's from Far Hills, New Jersey. Let's take a look.
Well, she's just late, trying to make a play on that ball, and clearly takes out the Cougar. Looks like Gutlein.
Tremendous senior season being put together by Gutlein. She's on 6 goals to go with 3 assists.
I mean, that pairing up front of Caitlin Johnson and Gutlein has been a dynamic duo, and they're going to have to score some goals tonight. I mean, these are the games you need to step up in if you do want to be, as Schulenberger says, a contender.
I like Wegner dropping into her defensive half to come get possession, lead her team into the attacking third. And Kyliana Johnson stepping forward now. Try to change the point of attack, but it never arrived. Michelle Zhao dropping into a defensive posture to recover for Stanford. Now DiBiase flying with Carusa. Sent the early service in. An exchange of headers, and Stanford wins possession momentarily. Now Johnson on the move. Saves it from the touchline and cuts it back. You can see she has intentions to go to goal every time it hits her laces. Sometimes has to discipline herself to wait for support. Now here is Andy Sullivan. This is really the first pocket of space she's gotten into tonight. Lays it off to Rosen, the goal scorer for the Cardinal. Look at Rosen. Always wants to get it back to that left foot for the booming shots. They've got width now with the freshman. Again, she whips it across the goal mouth, but no one on the end of it for Stanford.
Well, you're right. With Rosen, I mean, she's another player. Her and Michelle Zhao, Tegan McGrady, they're players you want to force them to their right foot, force them to their weaker foot. Those are things as a player that you have to know when you go into a match, if you're going to be paired up against someone continuously.
That's a nice combination by Washington State to get away from that pressure. Now do they have something? Oh, I know she'd love to have that touch back.
Yeah, and that was Bremer. And if she would just hold that ball, oftentimes the one-touch pass is not a great decision. She would have taken one touch, made the defender be honest to her. It would have given more time and space for that player to get forward, and then she could have laid an even better pass out there for her. And we're going to get a good look at it. I mean, there's Gutlein. It's going to be a 1-2 here. Bremer just needs to take, she tries to one-touch it. She needs to take a touch, and that's going to bring Alana Cook closer to her, and it's going to give more time and space for Gutlein to get on the other end of that 1-2.
Zhao with some skill to get down the touch line. Here's Carusa sending it back her way. Cougs able to get numbers behind the ball there defensively and win it back. Arlo sends it wide.
And Washington State plays with this four-man box midfield.
Got to be clean here. They'll use Diedrich. That midfield you were speaking of?
And it's often the area where they have the numbers up against the Stanford 4-3-3. They do in the middle center of midfield where they have four players, and that's where they can play make and find some space.
Look at that textbook switch off the foot of Andy Sullivan. She puts Lytle in a position for the service. Let's see if Johnson and the Cougs can counter. Oh, she wanted Gutlein making a run. I think she was onside. How about the second wave? Johnson over to Wagner. They've got Crenshaw forward, but Alana Cook will take care of that.
On the initial wave for Washington State, I mean, you want to try to find that counter and exploit it, but when it's not on, you spin out and you allow time for your teammates to join in the attack and get forward. Players have to get wide. Crenshaw ran way too narrow there. She's got to get her heels on the touchline. She's got to bend it wide, and that opens up channels to play that ball through.
I like the pace. I like the open flow of this match. Oftentimes when you play Stanford, they can kind of just let the ball work and strangle you until they're ready to score the goal. Tonight it's been more free-flowing.
Well, I think that's because Washington State themselves are going after it. So there is space for Stanford to attack and counter. You know, they don't have to just break things down methodically. Here's a thrilling player for Stanford, Mariah Lee, who's on a goal this season. It came last time out in their win over Colorado, and Paul Radcliffe actually teased Mariah because she's so talented and she has so many weapons that he couldn't believe it's taken her this long to get in the scoring column. But you know how this goes sometimes, Allie. Once you break through, they arrive in bunches. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's confidence for these front runners. You know, you get that first one and then the floodgates open. She's a sophomore from Covington, Washington. So this is a homecoming of sorts for her this weekend. You know she'd like it to be a special one. And this is a fun little spot for a free kick for Stanford. This is a ball that you want to let die right around the 6-yard box, and you want to get runners across the face of the goalkeeper, across Diedrich, to blind her vision towards that ball. Here come those runs. And the service sent away by Washington State. That falls to a good spot for Amac. And here is Lee. Mariah Lee's first touch. Goes back a level to Lytle. And now Lytle will make her run inside. Look at Lee go. Mariah Lee nearly tripped up. And dispossessed at the critical moment. And here's Lytle and Mariah Lee combining down that right flank. I like that. Lytle, the right back, trying to get forward. And Mariah Lee just senses that defender is occupied by Lytle, cuts inside. It's just good defending by Washington State. They had good cover there.
Jordan Branch, a sophomore from Sammamish, Skyline High School, where she was an all-state pick, two-time state champion in 2011 and 12. Now playing her soccer collegiately on the Palouse. What do you like about Andi Sullivan's games in the Stanford matches you've seen? What makes her a national team caliber player?
First and foremost, I mean, it's her ability on the ball. She's so technically sound. She drives the ball out to her teammates, so she gives them more time and space on the ball to then make their decision, their next move. And that alone, it seems like such a small detail, but that alone can open things up for a team. And she just has the confidence to ping it out there. And then just her decision-making overall, she makes good decisions, keeps the ball like that. Just a simple pass to keep the ball moving for her team.
Haley Rosen has possession. She has the lone goal in the match. And there's another textbook switch. Look how easily Lytle gets forward into that pocket. Laura Lytle. I think some indecision there on exactly what she wanted to do with the delivery of the shot.
No, but you're right on with that switch by Rosen. I mean, the whole Washington State team is on one side of the pitch, and then just to switch it, get it to the opposite side of the field, that's exactly how Stanford wants to attack. Possess the ball long enough to allow those outside backs to get forward.
Digging the Zoo Crew and the band making an appearance tonight for this top 25 showdown. It's our Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game of the Week on Pac-12 Network. Marlowe and the Cougs control. Kara Wegner to it now. Incisive little pass there to Johnson. She gets it back. Looking for a way around Amack. The 5'10 junior just shields her from the ball and takes over for Stanford.
And back to kind of, what does Washington State do? They're down 1-0 to Stanford. Well, this isn't unfamiliar territory for this group. Their coach, Schulenberger, talks about how they're not UCLA, they're not the Cal, they're not the Stanford programs. They don't have the depth or the pure athletic talent that some of these programs do. So they're used to having to work together to break things down. They're used to having to grind things out and work harder than their opponent oftentimes.
Sandy Davidson, John Harvey, Brian Bush, his staff. Schulenberger was at Texas Tech most recently, associate head coach there. They had a ton of success. Likewise, during his 4 seasons at Missouri, a great hire to inherit, I think, one of the most underrated, underappreciated programs in all of college soccer. Now, we know in the Pac-12 how dynamic the Cougs have been, how accomplished, and what an incredible home field environment this can be. But I'm not sure that it's recognized nationally as such.
No, I think you're completely right on, but with the statement they're making this year, I don't think that they're going to be a top secret for a while or for much longer.
Now, picked 9th preseason, but they're in tremendous standing now at 4-2 in conference and with 11 wins overall. They're going to be an NCAA tournament team, deservedly so. This is their final home weekend of the season. They're going to finish with matches at Oregon, Oregon State, and UW. There's a look at that crowd we spoke of. A match ago in their 1-0 loss to Arizona, they had better than 2,000 fans. They set a school record for the largest crowd to attend a match here at the lower soccer field. Megan Turner in for DiBiase.
Well, it's such a great recruiting tool. I mean, when you're a recruit and you go to these programs, you love coming into an environment where the stands are full, where there's energy around your program, where, in essence, you're some of the top athletes on campus. That's a drawing card. And I think it's just going to continue building up their program, and they're going to get better and better players.
Washington State also brought a substitute on. It was Maddie Harrow helping to earn this corner kick for Caitlin Johnson. Yeah, just put that microphone anywhere. Thank you. Yep. Yep, the cord too. Sorry about that. We should have known you were going to play there. Next time we'll just lodge it in a crack in that brick wall back there. Be a good spot for it.
Well, they might have assumed Stanford wasn't going to give up any corners.
They've had a couple. This one much better placed. My goodness, Grace Hancock almost got on it.
And Grace Hancock is typically very good in the air. I mean, This ball gets all the way across. It's floated a bit high, and that's if there's one weakness of Jane Campbell, it's on those balls sent into the box, her ability to read them and come out for them. But Grace Hancock, she's got to get up and over that and head that down. Obviously, she has to head it on frame.
Grace, in many ways, is the perfect example of the type of player that Washington State gets that makes them different from the UCLAs of the world, to use Coach Schulenberger's example, right? They're not getting the Southern California club elite player necessarily. They're going and getting the Grace Hancock from Boise, Idaho, and Boise High School, who's going to be a program player for them in Pullman.
Right, that's just going to be gritty. And you got to look, she still has stitches.
They're starting to get some traction here against Stanford.
I think this is the second time this year that Grace has had stitches coming into these matches on the weekend.
And Campbell finally makes her decision. That's going to go out for a Washington State throw. Cougs doing the best they can to eliminate some of these supply channels that Stanford hits so well. Tia Gavin, a freshman from Greenpoint, Australia, into the lineup. Gutline gets a rest before the half.
Well, Schulenberger's probably trying to get some of these subs in because they want to press that back line. Gutline is one of the top two strikers for the side, and he wants them to just run, keep pressing. So he's going to want to rotate players in, get some fresh legs in.
McGrady knocks it down. That was an ambitious ball. It does arrive at the feet of Rosen. Haley Rosen has the only goal of the match. This time tries the rights. She is two-footed, but as we've documented, loves to drill her goals with the left.
And it was very good 1v1 defending there by number 10, Susie White. She's had a couple of 1v1 opportunities today where she shut down players, and she just makes that extremely difficult for Rosen to get anything on frame.
White had an older sister, Mary, who played in the Pac-12, Colorado. This is Sullivan, and there's an example of the composure on the ball she possesses. Get the sense that she could take 10 minutes off the clock if she chose to. And I think it speaks volumes that she's been named a captain of a Stanford program in just her second season.
It's just impressive, and you see, look at that. I mean, just her ability to solve pressure. She can do it on the dribble. She can do it by passing her way out.
It's Megan Turner combining with McGrady now. McGrady's just been swinging the ball from the left flank across goal.
And I would challenge, if I'm Washington State, I would challenge my outside back, my right back, to force McGrady to her right foot. Don't allow her to get end line and serve those balls across. See if she can cut it back and see what she can do with that right foot. And then if she's still dangerous, then you adjust again. But you got to see if you force her that right foot, if things start to break down for her.
Bundled up on the Palouse tonight. Saw Chelsea Harkins from Surrey, BC, another international joining the Washington State side. 34 minutes gone. It's 1-0 Stanford. Right at the opening of the 13th minute, Haley Rosen struck for her fourth goal of the year. Maddie Bauer sends it forward. The Cougs will take over. Amack whiffed on it. Maddie Harrow's into the match. Here's her centering pass. Amack back in position, able to recover. It's Harrow again.
And that left side was wide open for Washington State.
Now McGrady's flying. Again, she cuts it left. Working against Susie White. 4 times now she's put a ball across the goal mouth. No result for Stanford.
And McGrady's being so brilliant on that left side. I mean, she's breaking down the right back for Washington State all game long. And look at her just driving. She's driving, beats one player, beats a second player. That's White. They're closing in. But McGrady at some point has to pick her head up and connect that pass. It's not just enough to flight it into the box, bend it into the box. You've got to find a teammate. You've got to find a seam that someone can get on the end of it.
Well, Lytle goes to the turf, and it looks like she will take the foul, working against Johnson. Well, you can see how that's going to emerge as a weapon more and more as McGrady's career continues. You know, as a freshman, she's getting to the right place and serving the right ball, just not quite at the right time.
Right, and there's defenders on her. She's just single-handedly beating them. But now she's got to have the presence of mind to slow it down and pick out a teammate.
Here's an opportunity as Johnson sneaks in behind. Cuts it back, takes the shot. It's followed up and in. Maddie Haro with the equalizer.
And that's all Johnson. That ball slipped in behind. I mean, nice, lovely ball in behind by Washington State. It sneaks through. But Kyliana Johnson, this ball right here, played out wide. That's number 8, Jordan Branch. She plays it down the flank, and just a misread that Caitlin Johnson gets on the end of. But I love that cutback, that shot, and then there's the team effort. There's the work ethic of this group. 2 players are there to finish that ball.
You're watching Packed.
They call that the Sports Report bump. Maddie Haro and her teammate Megan O'Neill appearing with Ashley Adamson on Monday night as part of the Sports Report Teammate Challenge, and she's rewarded with a goal against Stanford in their biggest match of the season. So back to level with 36 minutes gone. It's our Pac-12 women's soccer game of the week. We had a feeling it would be of this caliber.
Well, even as this game's been unfolding, you could just tell that Washington State was getting some looks, getting some opportunities. And that's why Caitlin Johnson has been so instrumental for this group. I mean, that cutback and that shot on frame that makes Jane Campbell go to ground. She doesn't secure it. I mean, she needs to maybe do better with that initially. But then the follow-up by her teammates crashing the box.
Good combination here. Amac must have been offside. There she sees the flag. Yep, indeed she was. Well, not just the fact that they get a goal, but I think that they catch it at this point in the match before the half has to be a great lift for Washington State.
Oh, absolutely. It's just going to reaffirm their tactics, their approach to this match, and know that they are in this game. Even if Stanford gets another goal, you know, they know they can come back.
And they get it with the second wave of players, right? They get it with the reserves off the bench. We talked about Washington State admittedly knowing they're not the deepest roster, but Maddie Haro comes off, the freshman from Corona, California, and she gets the equalizer.
Oh, what's the one staple we keep hitting on with this group? It's that it's a team effort, that they work hard for each other. And that follow-up effort is what every coach, you know, applauds and stands up and says, thank you for doing that. That's just the dirty work that goes so often unrewarded. And in that case, Haro gets it.
10 different Cougars have scored this season to kind of illustrate the point that you're talking about, that everyone combines to get the results they need. Here's another chance with Johnson. She just kind of buzzes around from both flanks and finds possession.
She does, and she's just so savvy on the ball, too.
Lytle's going to send this forward 50 yards. And Chelsea Harkins, the target, does well to hold it, working against Megan Turner. Tia Gavin linking up with Nicole Marlowe. She's been a starter tonight for Washington State. Harkins with a little switch here. Now they've got Susie White involved. Alana Cook's going to get to this, and it'll be a deep throw in for Washington State.
Just a good bout of possession there for Washington State. I'd like to see White hold on to that and play her outside back there instead of forcing that through ball.
All the way against the near side touchline, it's Johnson. So she had the best corner of the match that nearly led to a goal from the left side. Now from the right in the 40th minute.
And just a smart play by her to earn that corner kick. Drive in line. There's players in the box if that gets through, but otherwise you earn a free kick.
Chelsea Harkins over there to consult. And it looks like eventually she will give way to Harkins. Remember, that first corner was not the best effort. In fact, it rattled off the side of the goal netting. They play in short to her, and Stanford had it red all the way. Mariah Lee picks it up 10 yards from the end line, and she gets on the run. Bravo, Susie White, for stepping in front and winning it back for Washington State. Haley Rosen picking her way through the midfield. There's Lytle. This is her territory. How many times through her career have we seen her step onto a ball just in front of the center stripe? This time it's a giveaway, though. And Lytle recovering to make sure that no damage is done. Haro has the goal. She has a nice settle there. There's a big switch over to Amack. Got a waist-high bounce, able to keep it. Bo Bremer marking Mariah there on the near touchline. 4 minutes left before the half. It looks like Stanford will go back to the bench. And they just have waves and waves of talent. Ryan Walker-Hartshorn would start from nearly every side in the Pac-12.
I know. How depressing is that when you're the opposition facing these players just being subbed in that are big time?
Walker-Hartshorn on 2 goals this season. Now a junior from Oakland, California. She gets an early touch, at least wanted to. Chelsea Harkins stepped around. Amack again choosing her, looking for the corner, but denied at the last. Oh, a volley into the mixer. It bounces in front of goal. Can Walker-Hartshorn get there? Nervous moments for the Cougs. Now Rosen back onto it and driving end line. Her service to the penalty spots. Megan Turner back to Lytle. That's a play on. Turner has it again. She leads Carusa to the corner. Oh, what a turn. And her service deflected on the way out, so a Stanford corner late in the half.
Well, this whole attack started on a throw-in. I mean, that was bad communication by Washington State. They let a free player go for Stanford. They didn't have anyone stepping to that ball back to the thrower, which just creates havoc as that ball is sent into the box. No one picks it up cleanly. Here's Diedrich coming out. I mean, not a great play, but at least the Washington State player is able to clear it out of harm's way.
As they do on the corner. But Rosen and Stanford still with it. They get another service, and this time it's gloved by Diedrich. Leads Johnson out on the distribution. Does she have a touch to get around Cook? Not this time.
And that's one of those plays where Johnson, if she has nothing forward, she can't beat that player. She needs to sit on it, spin out of pressure, and allow her teammates to get out of their 18-yard box.
Amack meeting Bremer on that near side flank. Fortunate to get it back. It's been a good matchup tonight.
It has. Just a few careless giveaways, I'm seeing from Stanford this half. That's one of the things Paul Riley talked about was better possession. A few more passes to allow width to develop, allow more players to get in the attack. And I think, he's going to talk about that at halftime.
His team catches another corner before that halftime break. Rosen wants it. A flighted ball deep in the area. Amack chasing, working against Jordan Branch. Here's Andy Sullivan. Looking to break down her defender. 20 seconds left for Stanford. A dangerous ball, and will it get out for another corner? They'll have to hurry. Rosen knows it. Racing to get set up. Andy Sullivan with 5 seconds. A low drive. What a threatening ball, and what a first half in our Pac-12 women's soccer game of the week. We are tied at 1 after 45 minutes. Coming up next, Katie Boggs has our Pac-12 soccer halftime report, a top 20 SEC showdown to tell you about as well. Thursday night football in the Pac-12, Cal and UCLA, and a sports report update. That is coming up from our San Francisco studios with Katie Boggs. Let's check in with Todd Schulenberger. And, Coach, how important was it for your side to catch the equalizer there before the break, Maddie Harrow?
I mean, it was very important. I mean, let's face it, we missed 1 or 2 out of the gate. So we kept our composure and we moved forward and got one there at the end.
How have you felt about your team's performance thus far?
I like it. I mean, I think we're doing a good job. We're disrupting their play. We're pressing them a little bit. We're keeping possession, too. We just got to go vertical a little bit on them, I feel like.
All right, Todd, we'll let you get to your halftime adjustments. Thank you for the insights.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So Washington State looking for the huge takedown of Stanford. After 45 minutes, 1 apiece. Katie Boggs is next with our halftime report.
Due to time constraints, we now move ahead in game action.
Just doing it through that. I mean, just good work ethic, getting numbers around the ball, good pressure cover typically. And they're able to possess it as well, which is throwing Stanford off their rhythm. Stanford thrives when they're able to dictate play, have the majority of possession, and break teams down methodically. And right now they're a bit out of their comfort zone.
Bit of a nervous moment there as Crenshaw played back to her keeper, and Diedrich had very little choice but to send it out.
But these are games probably that Paul Ratcliffe wants for his side to prepare them for the NCAA tournament.
That's a great point. This has a postseason feel to it as Ryan Walker Hartshorn able to feed Carusa. Her shot knocked down. Courtney Gutline flying. Alana Cook with her every step. What a run by Gutline. Did she get a corner out of it? Yes.
Right decision to drive end line by Gutline here. There's Grace Hancock. I mean, she's been involved and instrumental in starting most of these attacks. And Gutline just takes her player. Nothing's on to release it to another teammate. So she's got to drive end line and earn a corner kick or send it in the mixer. But great defending by Cook as well to stay with her.
They ran hip to hip from midfield all the way in. Here's Johnson again. A similar ball. Again, she wanted Grace Hancock. After an hour of soccer, we're tied at 1. Like that recycled ball for Washington State. Could have been a little deeper. Are they onside here to play on? Appeared not. And Kyliana Johnson there. She's on a goal and an assist in her junior season. A Renton, Washington product out of Liberty High School. You made a great point off the top of the program about how Washington State and head coach Todd Schulenberger has not just upped the ante on the field, expecting his team to compete for a championship, but off it as well. They've got a targeted team GPA now of 3.5. It was already good. He wants it to be superb.
That's the mentality that he brings to this squad. I mean, he said, why not? If we have 3-2, typically in the past that was our standard. Why not a 3-5? You know, we can achieve that. And same thing with on the field. We can do better. We can get into NCAAs and make a deeper run. We can win the Pac-12. I mean, these are standards that he fully believes his squad is capable of, and this team is thriving under that positive reinforcement.
Substitutes for both sides. You saw Maddie Haro, who has the goal in the 37th minute for Washington State, entering. She comes to get Kelsey Crenshaw. And Megan Turner returns to the field for Stanford. Wagner and the Cougs working for a way out. Stanford wins it back. Turner, some good physical play to spring herself down the flank. Interior pass, Rosen. She makes a turn. She makes a switch. A ton of space now for Amack. Going 1v1. Stephanie Amack. Unable to turn the corner. Unable to get the corner. But she's got it back. Haro just into the match, giving her all she can handle at that outside back spot. And for all we praise Caitlin Johnson for her work in the attack, how about that in defensive support?
Tremendous work ethic, and that's something you love to see out of your front runners. It lifts you as a center mid or as in that back line when your front runners are coming back and working that hard for you defensively.
Amack to the top of the 18. Carusa got a header on it. Zhao's now on the left attack. Bo Bremer poking it away.
And we're going to get a look at Caitlin Johnson coming back. She is the forward, and she just stands up the player, wins the ball cleanly, and then just, remember earlier in the program we talked about getting out of harm's way when there's nothing on? Smart decision by her just to kick it out.
Left-footed cross denied, but it does squirt through to Carusa. Here's the second hit. And unless it was deflected, it should be a goal kick. Johnson, by the way, one of those fine students for the Cougs we spoke of. She's Pac-12 All-Academic. Diedrich just a week removed from Pac-12 Keeper of the Week honors. 2 shutouts on the road, helping the Cougs beat Utah 1-0, Colorado 3-0. Gutlein stepped on it, lost her momentum there, and Stanford able to recover. What do you think breaks open this match? What will decide it late?
It seems to be moments of brilliance by individual efforts or 2 or 3 players. For Stanford right now, they're having trouble beating players 1v1. That's what created their goal in the first half. And for Washington State, it's getting a few players forward and creating something as a unit. It's probably not going to be just a special moment by one player.
Kept Sullivan contained for the most part, although she continues to be instrumental in the attack and in possession. Rosen doing a lot of good work here for Stanford. Tegan McGrady hit it with the left. Looked like it was out before the end line, so it should be a deep throw in. Bo Bremer is patrolling that right back spot. Walker Hartshorn slips one into Rosen. Touched off her laces. Sullivan wanted to step onto it and drill it. Wagner a partial clearance, but again with Alana Cook, the Cardinal keep it. Finally some relief for Washington State, sent right back in by this relentless Stanford attack.
And it's wave after wave right now from Stanford, and that can break it open for them if they can be smarter in the final third. They're doing a very good job of getting around the edges, getting numbers in the attack, but they're not picking out the right players. They're not taking players on 1v1 at the right time. It's just those decisions in the final third that are really inhibiting their opportunities on frame.
Ryan Walker Hartshorn, herself a great student, a double major, human biology, African American studies, has received all conference accolades as well. 3rd generation Cardinal.
Double major at Stanford. Can't imagine what that takes.
Don't know if you and I could combine for a major at Stanford, right?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
That reminds me that you spoke of sharing scouting reports earlier in an attempt to overtake Stanford. One thing Washington State did was thoroughly vet the tape of the Santa Clara match. because they had good success against Stanford, and I think other sides would like to duplicate it.
That's true. My alma mater, they got a result against Stanford, one of the few teams this year. And it had been like an 8-year drought or something where they hadn't beat the Cardinals.
Good pocket here for Amack. She laid it off, and I think her target, Carusa, lost her footing. Oh, this could be trouble. A deep giveaway. And they've got it with Rosen. And she's got it to her left. It's still alive for Zhao. Wow, Washington State dodges one.
That turnover can be so dangerous, but Stanford ran out of ideas on this attack. You see, it's just a turnover in the center of midfield. I mean, that is a dangerous, dangerous ball to pass in there. But Rosen runs out of ideas, and that's Walker Hartshorn. She doesn't know what to do because she doesn't know what Rosen's going to do. And when you stop moving, a lot of times your attack breaks down, and that's what happened in that situation. They had numbers, but just no dynamic movement.
You saw Nicole Marlowe's recovery run there. That was a difference. Isabel Naiman among the substitutes for Washington State here, trying to stay fresh against this Stanford attack. Amack, a great ball. Zhao overran it a bit. Megan O'Neill able to beat the Stanford player. And Stanford starting to win the ball back and get it in their attacking half. You said it's arriving in waves now. You're starting to sense that they might be on the verge of breaking through.
Absolutely, but Washington State has been so disciplined defensively. I mean, look at this. You see the player tracking her runner. They've got pressure. They're going to have cover.
Carusa makes her turn against Jordan Branch. Puts it at the feet of Ryan Walker Hartshorn. That was a tough handle. Sullivan brings it down. An easy turn. And she's at pace. Look out for Andy Sullivan. A step over. A shot that was denied. And cleared by Johnson. Now Alana Cook. What a drive here by Stanford. They've been knocking on the door. Do they have the go-ahead goal?
And just as I say, they've been so disciplined and having pressure and cover. Those were a few situations where they didn't have cover. I mean, Andy Sullivan gets on the ball, and it's like the parting of the Red Seas. Here she is. She turns her player, and really no cover is stepping up with any gusto whatsoever, and she's able to beat two players. Grace Hancock does a nice job of closing at the end.
Caitlin Johnson steps onto it. She's on 6 goals for the Cougs this season. Does she have the go-ahead strike for Washington State? Using Megan O'Neill in support. Johnson has it back. Her service. With Tia Gavin in mind. Kyliana Johnson now. Kara Wegner. And Sullivan just takes it away. Now, I've noticed that this attack with Ryan Walker Hartshorn up top, they actually have Tegan McGrady starting her runs from deeper, where she was kind of a target player in the first half and was getting end line. Some of her more recent drives, she has Michelle Zhao in front of her, which is a change from the first half.
Yeah, I think it's Walker Hartshorn is more of a target player, as you saw that ball played in by Andy Sullivan to her. And that allows Tegan the ability to roam and to cut in inside or to get outside and get in front of her.
Maddie Bauer checks in with Jane Campbell. Good set by Grace Hancock. A good combination there by Washington State to change the point of attack. Again, they target Tia Gavin in the area. Alana Cook clears it away. Andy Sullivan, the sophomore for Stanford, steps onto it. Campbell distributing to Amac. I wonder if there's some heavy legs at this point. It does look like a moment in the match where the fitness is starting to take its toll.
And that's clear and present when you see a lot of reactionary movement.
Johnson working against Cook, asking for the corner. And a corner indeed for Washington State.
Both these sides have been going hard for 70-plus minutes. And I would expect tired legs to start coming into play. And this is where depth becomes so important, or possession. And here's just a look at the buildup from Washington State, and who again but Johnson getting on the end of it and earning a corner kick.
Service to the 6. Looked like Cook got the first header, Gavin the second. Stanford clears its area. And that takes us right to Mariah Lee, ready to check in. Jordan Branch awaits the throw. She and the Cougs have had a really special season to this point. They won their first 7 matches before dropping their non-conference finale against Portland. They reached the double-digit win mark in just 12 matches, fastest to double-digit wins in school history. Bauer to it with Tia Gavin in pursuit. They played at the feet of Campbell, and she gets rid of it. And Carusa dropping deep to win possession.
And this is a good look at, you can see how those two front runners are spying the center backs of Stanford, not allowing them to be the ones that play make. And that could be one of the things that's also disrupting the Stanford rhythm.
They did well to spring Carusa here. Wow. Critical play on at this juncture of the match. Carusa right back into the mix against Hancock. Here's a goal scorer for Washington State, Maddie Haro. I can see you're looking for more intention to the last 2 distributions from Washington State.
Absolutely. I mean, better options were in her field of vision. She had her left back creeping outside. Just play a simple pass, maintain possession, don't force it. Again, at this juncture, when, as you said, they have such tired legs, you got to keep the ball.
So Lee comes to replace Zhao, just as she did in the first half. Zhao does have the option to re-enter here in the second half. It's a good restart for Washington State. Did not get the chance out of it that they looked to be on the verge of. And Sullivan knocked down the shot from Johnson. Megan Turner now working with Rosen.
And we talk about how many wonderful things Sullivan can do on the ball offensively, but she's made a couple key blocks from players shooting outside the box in both halves.
I see Wagner opting for the quick restart. Try to get it out to Megan O'Neill. Stanford will have it on the throw.
I mean, besides Johnson, Wagner's been a bright spot for Washington State. I mean, she's been one of the playmakers who's created a lot of their opportunities. How's
this for a playmaker? Mariah Lee into a threatening area. Lays it off to Amac on the diagonal.
She does a great job of driving that space that's wide open. But then she's driving into the space that she eventually plays the ball into. I mean, that allows the whole defense just to shift with your movement and it's much easier to defend. If she cuts that ball back, there's a great opportunity. And here she is. Just creates space for herself, takes it, but then again, she allows the defense to keep running the way that she's taking them. And that's easy to defend.
So hit the brakes and bring the left flank back into play?
Hit the brakes, let them fly right by. Top Gun, right? It's true, yeah. You want to hit the brakes and at least make them honor that you may go the other direction, in which case then that player can be sprung.
We're into the 78th minutes with my wing woman, Allie Wagner. JB Long, glad you're with us for our Pac-12 Women's Soccer Game of the Week. It's been a great one. 1-1, Stanford and Washington State. Haley Rosen and Maddie Harrow, the goal scorers. Rosen and Stanford win it in the midfield. Now she carries on. Has Carusa to her left, Mariah Lee to her right. Rosen. And offside. Is Ryan Walker Hartshorn, or did she catch a handball? Either way, Washington State is out of trouble for now.
And that's Rosen. It looks to be a handball. That's number 14, Bremer, trying to clear it out, but...
Was that an example, Allie, of kind of the previous sequence you were talking about? This time it was Rosen who did kind of stop at the top of the 18.
It was, but she had the opportunity to play Mariah Lee in, and she chose to take it herself. I don't begrudge her that. I think, you know, when you're hot, and she's been having a great game, so take that opportunity. But she also closed herself down and went into her cover. And that creates, you know, it's harder to find your shot as it got deflected.
Jordan Branch with the touch over to Hancock. She sends it forward and is bent the wrong way and away from Courtney Gutlein. I think the Cougs have to feel like they're in a good spot here, though. On their home field, 11 minutes left in regulation, level with number 4 Stanford.
I think so, and they weathered that storm where it was wave after wave after wave of attack from Stanford. And that can lift your confidence, and you might be able to find some rhythm and momentum as a team.
Rosen a giveaway. Carol Wegner steps onto it. Wegner hits a low drive right into the waiting arms of Campbell. And McGrady played the touch line and was intercepted. Megan Turner has it back for Stanford. McGrady was really stirring the drink in the first half. She's been closed down on here in the second. Some of the personnel Stanford has implemented has changed her role just a touch. And we spoke with Paul Ratcliffe at halftime, and McGrady was his instigator in the first 45 minutes.
Well, she was finding a lot of joy down that left flank.
Mariah Lee, center of the park, and driving right. Grace Hancock with her step for step. Courtney Gutlein is there as well. Have to credit the total team effort defensively for Washington State. Attackers involved inside their own penalty area tonight.
Well, that's been one of the staples for this core group. It's keep everything tight defensively, take advantage of the counterattack when it's on, otherwise build out possession-oriented style. And they've implemented that game plan. I think that's why they're having such a great season, is that they've bought into the system, the tactics that Schulenberger wants out of them. And they're all on the same page. You can just see it.
Stanford gets some width here. It's Rosen. Loves that left foot. Put it on Diedrich. Had eyes on it all the way. What a booming ball, too. My goodness. Puts the pressure right back on the Stanford center backs.
And here we're going to get a look at Rosen on the ball again. The ball springs out wide to her. And she cuts it back to that left foot, and she's got a window. That's a ball you try to bend into that upper V.
There's a service off the foot of Amack. Ticketed for Ryan Walker Hartshorn. Could not get a clean redirect, and so 82 minutes finished. We are still at one apiece. Haley Rosen struck first way back in the 13th minute. Maddie Haro equalized in the 37th. Washington State's last winning result against a top 5 team, November of 2007 against the USC Trojans. What an outcome this would be if they can break through late. Stanford still flawless on the Pac-12 schedule. They are in firm control of their own conference championship destiny. Through ball with Carusa in mind. Well marked by Washington State. Grace Hancock has been busy. Into Mariah Lee. Back to goal. The sophomore drops it back for Amack. Amack takes a crack with the left. Stanford calling handball. They'll have to settle for a corner instead.
And here's a look. Amack just cuts it back to her left. There's cover there, and that's who actually rises up, and it does, in fact, hit her elbow. In the rules of the game, you can call that handball.
In swinger from the corner. Susie White, the first header. Now Haley Rosen sends it in. No trouble for Diedrich. Pac-12 saves leader, trying to keep her team alive for a result against Stanford. Lee playing box to box, knocks it away from Caitlin Johnson.
And you can just hear the crowd come alive as that ball's played down the flank for Johnson.
Jordan Branch through the legs of Mariah Lee. Now Johnson sends it in. Stanford plays it cleanly in their back four. McGrady and Alana Cook asked to carry a heavy load defensively as freshmen. Still rock solid. A good end line move. Here's the service. Oh, the best look of the match for Washington State. Everything was there but the finishing touch. Haro almost had her second.
She is going to want that one back. That was beautifully scripted by Washington State. Just the initial ball played out wide. I love that. The ball back is a simple ball. Allows a player who sees the field able to play that through ball. And then driving end line, number 14, Bremer. Perfect ball across for Haro. And the bounce, I mean, she just mistimes it. And that goes back across the face of goal. What an opportunity from Washington State.
What a fun match. Look at this. 29 shots combined between the two teams. 5 minutes left in regulation. You can see the field might be starting to just slicken a little bit as we get deeper into the night, and it's taken nearly a full match of play. That's skipped on Diedrich. She's familiar with the conditions here on the Palouse.
And as a player, this is when you have to know those conditions can play a huge role. You shoot it more often when you know it's slick and wet out there. Maybe it's a bit colder and the goalkeeper's not as warmed up with their hands. Those elements all have to factor into your decision making.
Maybe send a low drive instead of picking out an upper 90 and put the onus on the keeper. This is McGrady getting forward. Really the first true corner she's turned end line in this second half, much the way she did in the first. Bremer with another big play there. Instead of a corner, it's a deep throw. Into Kira Carusa with Bremer her mark. Nice touch to buy some space for that cross to Rosen. I wish she had another 5 yards on it. Now Johnson. This is where she can be special. Late in a match, combining into the attacking third. on the return pass. Perfectly done by Alana Cook.
There's that chemistry of Johnson and Gutline, but as you said, Cook just read it very well, played it coolly.
Wegner got a breather. Now she's back for the final 3 minutes of regulation. Branch gets it back on the touchline off her throw. Little heel flick. And I think it was Gutline who made the run behind her. So disappointing for Washington State to give away a lot of field position there late in this match. See what Stanford chooses to do with 2.5 remaining.
Well, they can get back that field possession by winning first and second ball on this.
Exactly. Perfectly forecast as Johnson takes over once again. Leading Wegner on the diagonal, but Cook was there. Johnson dispossessed this time. Final 2 minutes of our Pac-12 women's soccer game of the week. Will it go beyond? Johnson does not want any part of overtime. She wants to win it here. And Cardinal with some trouble on the clearance, picked up by Campbell. A big ball by Jane Campbell all the way up to Mariah Lee. Grace Hancock sends it away. It was so fun to see freshmen playing instrumental roles in one of the biggest conference matches of the year for both sides.
That's why I love college soccer. You get those young players in instrumental roles, and they're going to be in big games.
Kyliana Johnson gets this attack on the run. Now it's Caitlin Johnson. A touch in behind, denied by the center backs. Cook her mark. And arriving behind her, Maddie Bauer. There's a foul. And they'll stop the clock. Caitlin Johnson is going to get a booking here late.
And that's not a smart foul to give away by Johnson because they have momentum. They're in their attacking third, and this is just unnecessary. I think she just slips, actually.
Took out Tegan McGrady, and so in the 90th minute, she picks up a yellow. That's the first of the match for either side. And at least 40 seconds for Stanford to maybe win a ball and build an attack. Good hide on Ryan Walker Hartshorn. And there's a foul going against Mariah Lee. Centering pass for Maddie Haro. Final 10 seconds from the Palouse. This one ticketed for extra time. 1 goal apiece, Stanford and Washington State. So we will step aside and set the table for overtime between a couple of top 25 clubs playing our Pac-12 women's soccer game of the week. For the second half highlights, it looked like Washington State really turned the tide against Stanford. That's a good run to play.
They did. Washington State had some momentum, but this is a look at Andy Sullivan just driving through that midfield, making it look so effortless. But you got players closing in for Washington State. She makes her life more difficult by running into those numbers, into the cover. And here's Stephanie Amack whipping that ball in. That's a great ball across, but very well defended. Look at every player in the box is marked up by Washington State. That's the discipline you need. And here's Washington State on the attack. I love this. The ball back and through, up, back and through, and then she beats her player on end line, and you've got 4 runners in the box. She flights it all the way far post. That's lazy defending by Stanford. If Haro puts that away, that player is responsible because she didn't track her player.
Haro was almost the hero with her second goal instead of a brace. We go to OT. Haley Rosen struck first. That was way back at the end of the 12th minute. Rosen picks up her 4th of the year to go along with 3 assists. And then the combination for Washington State that led to the Haro goal.
Yeah, this ball just down that left flank, misread by the back line of Stanford. And I love this touch right there, back across by Johnson. She gets her frame, gets her shot on frame, makes Jane Campbell go to ground. She doesn't handle it cleanly, and then the numbers just following up and putting that away.
A good nugget there. Stanford yet to drop a match when scoring first this season, as you saw they did on the Rosen goal. And Washington State looking for a top 5 upset for the first time since defeating USC in 2007. Well, thank you for sticking with us, as has the band, for what should be a sensational extra time. See the records. Neither team has been defeated, much less drawn in overtime this season. All 4 matches have produced a winning result for either Stanford or Washington State.
And usually you have a gut feeling about which way a game will go in these waning moments, but both teams have had opportunities.
Now Stephanie Amack with some centering possession. Tegan McGrady thought about a go with the left. Second time. Now she sends it. An important tip there by Diedrich. Haley Rosen now. Kira Carusa. First corner of overtime belongs to Stanford.
And so look at Diedrich just coming off her line and making that important tip, getting out harm's way. She doesn't get a lot on it, but luckily for her, there's no Stanford player hounding that tip ball.
5th-year senior Haley Rosen has the honors. A minute into the first OT session. Golden Goal Soccer. Zhao volleyed on. Hit it again. Falls to the floor. Maddie Bauer.
I mean, nothing special on this corner kick. They find Zhao. Zhao just volleys it, tries to put it in the mixer, gets that rebound. And Washington State just does a poor job of clearing it.
Stanford closing in on 20 shots in the match, nearly doubling up Washington State.
And as you head into overtime, as players, this is when someone steps up usually and says, I'm going to take control and win this game. Stanford has more of those players, but Washington State has been very dynamic in the attacking third.
Taken off the foot of Ryan Walker-Hartshorn. Tegan McGrady jogs over for another throw. Susie White holding her mark. Carusa, great cut pass. Walker-Hartshorn now turns end line. So 2 corners in the first 3 minutes of overtime for Stanford.
And smart play by Walker-Hartshorn just to earn that corner kick. Go end line.
And for Rosen, at least, this left corner is the more lethal one. She can bring an in-swinger in with that right foot. As good as her left is in shooting, for whatever reason, this corner seems to produce more dynamic results. Flighted well deep. Who was that? AMAC there, it appeared to be, picking herself up.
It is. And Rosen, you talk about that typically being a good sign for her. She's got to drive that ball more. That wasn't a great corner kick. Yes, it got to the right spot, but you've got to get it there with pace because there's not much that AMAC can do with that as that arrives. There's just not enough pace on it to redirect on frame.
The runs have stalled out. The defensive players have time to adjust to the ball in air.
Exactly. And the ball's so lofted, you just can't get a lot of power and pace on it.
A through ball there with no Cougar on the end of it to the feet of Jane Campbell. A battle for possession eventually won by Nicole Marlowe. Lee looking to work it away from her, and Stanford asking for the throw. That's a nice flick up to Haley Rosen. Clean first touch. She gets some space. Ryan Walker-Hartshorn ahead of her. That's where the pass goes. A heel cut back, asking for the bailout whistle. None coming.
I love that run by Walker-Hartshorn. She bends it wide, gives a passing lane for Rosen to slip that in. Yes, she doesn't earn the free kick, but here's Rosen. She just keeps battling in that midfield, beating players. And look at Walker-Hartshorn just bending that wide, giving that little passing lane, that little channel for Rosen to slip it in. Little 1v1 battle there on the end line, but again, a nice run to set that up.
And Rosen's really been the engine tonight.
She has been. I mean, making very good decisions on the ball, and she's physically strong and able to just body players off and buy herself a little bit of time and space.
We're playing sudden victory soccer on a Thursday night on the Palouse. Stanford and Washington State, they've been locked at 1 since the 37th minute. And Kyliana Johnson with Caitlin Johnson. That combination denied, at least for the moment. Susie White now surveys her options. Bauer played it very well, very skillfully to negate that chance. Cougs sending some balls in to test the back four for Stanford, really for the first time in this overtime.
They look a bit hasty in their attack where they weren't in the previous two halves. You want to play with urgency, but you also want to play with the calm and composure that you had leading up to this moment.
A physical 50-50, and it looks like Grace Hancock took the worst of it. Midfield, Mariah Lee. It dips through traffic, carries on for Stanford.
This is where someone like Andy Sullivan for Stanford needs to get on the ball and just calm her team down, connect, and go back to their style where they can break a team down. I mean, Washington State has to be exhausted.
A Cook involved now. Walker-Hartshorn stays on the field for Paul Ratcliffe late here. Not a bad 20 seconds or so for Bo Bremer to hold the ball and let her side catch its wind.
Yeah, those are the details that can make all the difference, honestly.
If she sensed the same thing that you did, that her team was a bit sluggish here in the 98th minute.
And it could have been just a situation where no one was checking to the ball anyways.
Yeah, they made the decision for her. The gradient incisive ball to Caruso, who makes a nice turn. With her every step of the way, though, Susie White nearly got a right-footed service. They battle at the edge of the 18. That'll be a Stanford foul. Last-ditch effort for Caruso there. And Paul Radcliffe says that this freshman from San Diego has been a very pleasant surprise for his side this season. Has emerged nicely in her second season on campus, first on the field. A miscue there by Diedrich. And 2 minutes left in the first overtime session as we await the Stanford throw. Bremer steps in on Walker Hartshorn and sends Stanford back to the touchline. Seconds left as McGrady throws it back. I don't know how Ryan Walker got that service in, but she did. And now it's on for Stanford. Offside flag was up.
It looks like Bremer is in the back line for Washington State in lieu of Crenshaw. Bremer's she's so versatile for this group. She can play up top, she can play in the midfield as she did in the first half, and now she's in the back line.
Well, that left flank channel has been the predominant one for Stanford, so you can't fault the strategy putting a rock at right back.
Right, someone with such pace.
Speaking of pace, Mariah Lee gets Stanford started. A late whistle goes against Washington State and Courtney Gutlein. 30 seconds remaining in the first OT. Another 10-minute session awaits if necessary. Tegan McGrady. You know she wants it on that left. Goes right at goal. It was a knuckler, and Diedrich was leaning left, able to recover.
She had a nice pace on that ball.
So 100 minutes, not enough to decide Stanford and Washington State.
And here's Tegan McGrady just once again cutting to that left foot. No one steps to her, and she just unleashes that. It catches Diedrich a little bit off. She's cheating left, thinking she's going to whip it in, and then that goes to the near post, but she covers it well.
Does our second overtime have a winning result for either Stanford or Washington State in this top 25 showdown? A goal apiece, the Cardinal and the Cougs to double overtime we go with Allie Wagner, J.B. Long. And a school night, so what? This soccer's too good to miss.
Yeah, you can't go home now.
They're bundled up, as is Paul Radcliffe, his team making its final road trip of the Pac-12 regular season. Their shot advantage has been dominant, but no game-winning goal to be found just yet. Coach Schulenberger and his Cougs trying to hand Stanford its first defeat of conference play.
Yes, Stanford has had more of the shots, but if you look at shots on goal, it's much tighter, and that's when you get a glimpse at the quality chances that these teams are creating.
They switch ends once more. And Johnson a bit heavy with that target of Kara Wagner. Tegan McGrady has been instrumental in the Cardinal attack. What role will she play from the outside back position? Here's a touch for Andy Sullivan, and you called for it in the first OT.
Yeah, they've just got to get her on the ball more, but I think Washington State is doing a very good job of spying her and not allowing her to appear open to her teammates. But when you have a player of Andy Sullivan's caliber, her capabilities, you want to find her even when she is marked because she can solve that pressure.
I think part of it is the Washington State attack has been legitimate enough to keep her at least honest in the defensive posture when she needs to be.
Definitely, and they've stretched Stanford. They've created spaces for the midfield then to play of Washington State.
A clean touch is there by Grace Hancock. In some trouble along the back line for Washington State. They get it out and they get it forward. Courtney Gutlein Freshman back Alana Cook has been up to the test so far. Now Wegner. Haro with the only goal tonight for Washington State. Drops it back Johnson. And Stanford had numbers behind the ball.
They did, and it was too tight to go centrally there. They've got to find their width.
Oh, too tall, too long for Bo Bremer. A couple of teams ticketed for the NCAA tournaments. And in the top half of the conference table, playing into double overtime tonight, Stanford and Washington State are Pac-12 women's soccer game of the week. Haley Rosen has the goal for Stanford. Kira Carusa to it next. And now Amac. Amac still on it. Did she get the corner? Indeed. So the first corner kick of double OT belongs to the Cardinal, and Rosen assumes her place. To the 6 and headed away by the Cougs. And still not clear. Sullivan gets to it, touches it back out to Rosen. Dangerous position here. Haley Rosen across goal. Oh, it was the chance of overtime thus far for either side. Cardinals still in great position with numbers forward. Alana Cook hits it with the left. Just a chip to the spot. So far, the Cougs holding strong. Marlowe. Hounded by Walker Hartshorn. Good poise there by Washington State. And they're out of it for now. A long pass to Gutlein. Touch off to Johnson. And Sullivan gives it away. That's a rarity. And both sides struggling for the ball now. Nice reversal by Johnson, not once but twice. And an even better find Wegner. Here come the Cougs. Maddie Bauer with the step defensively for Stanford. Ryan Walker Hartshorn runs onto a great ball. Cuts it onto her left.
What a second period of overtime. I mean, this has been up and back. Stanford, one of the areas that they've been working on is their finishing, and they've had a plethora of opportunities here. Here's a look at Walker Hartshorn just beating her player, creating a window of opportunity. Can't put it on frame. But they had this cross earlier, the center.
Here's more of a drive with some bend to it. Amac was in the area, and it's cleared away. Maddie Haro was there defensively. Rosen to the identical corner.
That ball is still a little flighted for me. I think she needs to drive it.
See if the third time in overtime from that corner is the ticket. Still a bit high for Allie's liking. That's a savvy play to escort it out of bounds by Caitlin Johnson, knowing she did not have to play it.
I mean, Haley Rosen has the capabilities of whipping that in, driving it in. I don't know why it's so lofted and floated. I mean, that's just, like I said, it's a difficult ball for Stanford to get on and really put a lot of pace on frame for Diedrich to make a big-time save. But it's well marked up by Washington State.
Cougs 4.5 minutes from becoming the first Pac-12 side to get a result against Stanford. It does not look to my eye that they're playing for that draw, though. They're attacking what could be a game-winning goal.
Oh, yeah. Their mentality is such that they know and they believe they can win this game.
Haro's pass deflected and swept away. 4 minutes left. And again, no stoppage time here in NCAA soccer, so the clock that you see is true. We'll play to 110 minutes. I'm sure both sides saying it's a good thing we played this on a Thursday night. If we're going to go the distance, to have that extra day of recovery before their Thursday matches. Cal next year on the Palouse, and Stanford going across the state to Seattle. An incisive ball there. Wagner couldn't make her turn. Here's Turner with possession for Stanford. Sullivan supporting her. She wants to play into Hartshorn. Chested to the floor. Carusa now. Can Amack get there? Oh, she stepped over and took the corner. That was crafty. Well done, Stephanie Amack. But was she offside? Missed the flag up.
Here's that through ball. It looks to me, I don't think anyone gets a touch on that, and that's why it's a goal kick. I don't think Haro touches it at all. Hard to tell from this vantage point, but that's obviously what they called.
Cook with the restart. Here's a low drive to the top of the area. Susie White, I believe, had the first header for the Cougs. Now McGrady's on it for Stanford. Great touch inside. McGrady's got a pocket. She's got targets. She's got Carusa. What a moment. What a moment, and Ella Diedrich stands tall.
Well, this is Tegan McGrady taking the game on her shoulders, and she does what she didn't do all first half, which is pick out a teammate in the box. She finds number 12. That's Carusa.
Another identical corner. This time it pays off, and Stanford has found a way. Avery Collins, a 5'11" target, delivers the game-winning goal for Stanford.
And clearly I was wrong, because that's the same corner kick that's been played over and over again, but with a different result. I mean, this is flighted, lofted in, not much there. And that's just redirected right at Diedrich, but she isn't quick enough to handle that. It looks as though she's blinded a bit from that initial shot, which makes her reaction time a little bit slow. Great finish.
Avery Collins has a big personality. Her head coach says she's an inspirational teammate, and she delivers in a clutch moment here on the Pac-12 schedule. She improves the Cardinal to 13-2 overall, 7-0, still perfect in conference play on their final road trip of the year.
I mean, sometimes you need those X factors to step up in these moments and make the play of the game, and this has to be it, right? OT goal, ball just lofted in on the corner, and Collins redirecting it right at Diedrich, but again, she's blinded, so she can't make a play on it.
Our Foster Farms play of the match. Avery Collins, the game-winning goal, and assisted from the corner by Haley Rosen, who has the first tally and the final assist. Pretty good pick for woman of the match for Stanford.
Absolutely. But I think there has to be credit given to Washington State for the performance they put in against Stanford, and perhaps a blueprint is passed to another coach about, hey, this is how you slow down Stanford and perhaps steal a victory against them.
They will play at UW on Sunday. Washington State will try and split the weekend against a very talented and ranked Cal side as well. A top 25 showdown goes to Stanford tonight on the Palouse. For Ali Wagner, JB Long, our producer Dennis Kirkpatrick, our director Dan Barr. Thank you for going to double OT with us. Stanford still atop the Pac-12 table and perfect on the conference season.